Welcome back to the garage, guys. I'm Damien and this is the Binder Builder. Well, if the upper part of the tube chassis took too long to build, I've got some great news. In this video, we're going to start and complete the entire lower section. So let's get started. Hey, would you guys mind doing a real quick favor and hitting that like and subscribe button for me? Thanks so much. With the upper section being pretty much where I need it to be, it's time to turn my attention to the lower section. Now the lower section is going to be built on a single piece of 2x4 by quarter wall box tube. I realize that quarter wall box tube is very heavy and a lot of people kind of frown on that, but I'm kind of going for more strength. My goal is to hang my front suspension, the rear suspension, as well as the engines and transmission mounts, all from this one structure, and I want it to be as strong as possible, even if it costs me a little more weight. I'll get into all that later, but for now, let's just start mounting this suspension. The center mount A-arm suspension I'm using is actually my own design, and if you missed any of that, you could go ahead and click on the button up there, a little link to those videos. But where and how I mount it to this lower section of the tube chassis will determine my actual wheelbase. I set it up for a certain stretch, and I want to make sure that I have that stretch still. So I pulled out the bulkhead and started taking measurements. Then pulling out some scrap 2x4, I started positioning everything to see where I needed to start trimming. If you're wondering why I'm putting the bulkhead up at an angle like that, it's because this is how I decided to set my suspension caster. There's many ways to do this, but this is how I'm doing it. All right, just setting up the front suspension real quick. So this is my bulkhead. I want about a 7-ish degree angle. So that's an 8.5. So I'm not going to put it up that high, but my goal is basically to, so this is not the box tube I'm going to use, that's over there. But I'm going to cap off the box tube and then I'm going to cut the angle into this. So not only will the bulkhead sit against this, it's also going to run all the way back into the cab. That way, when I'm jumping and stuff and it's hitting, it's transferring the load into the big box tube. Again, the box tube going down the middle is going to be 1/4 inch, super heavy duty to give me some good support of that front suspension. Putting about 2 inches there. The front suspension is going to be about 14 inches in front of the bulkhead, the stock bulkhead. Stock suspension is 9. So that's actually, stock wheelbase is right about here. I'm stretching mine out a full 5 inches. And that's one of the things with the beam guys is they'll extend their wheelbase out 10 inches or their front beam out 10 inches, but then they get like 4 or 6 over arms, which come back a little bit. I don't know how much that's back. So I'm pushing it out 5 inches over stock. So therefore, I want to push my wheelbase out over stock so the back of the tire sits where the back of a tire on a stock bug is. I could be completely wrong. That's a full-on guess on my part, but why not, right? Am I worried about it hitting this, or because with my pan, it comes out a little bit more? Am I worried about it hitting it? A little bit, I'm worried about it, but in reality, I'm pushing it out about 5 inches as well on each side. So chances are at full turn, it's not going to hit even my extended doghouse or footwell. So with any luck, that will do. So again, I just wanted to show you how I'm setting up my suspension. That big 2x4 that's laying on its sides is to go up the middle to replace my trans tunnel. It's going to be laying like this. I'm going to notch my bulkhead so that it will fit up the front and all the way back as far as I can make it. I'm pushing out my wheelbase 5 inches. With luck, that'll actually look pretty good. I guess we'll see, huh? So anyway, that's where I'm at. Let's keep going. After confirming the measurements, it's time to start marking the suspension bulkhead with the cut marks. I'm going to take my time here because I definitely don't want to screw this up. All right, so did some measuring, did some figuring and all that other stuff. This is what I've got. So here's the marks. All right, so exactly corresponding marks on the other side. So yeah, in order for that to sit proper and even, it pitches it up 7 degrees. So basically all I got to do now, cut out this line and that line, and then stick it on the 2x4. And so yeah, that should work. And with that, I pulled out my grinder with a fresh cutoff wheel and started cutting along the lines. Being as close to as I am to the actual cutting, I grabbed my welding helmet to shield my face. Truth be told, I probably should have done this earlier. Then I grabbed some scrap box tube and held it up to see if everything fits. But now it's time to take some measuring tape to the upper part of the tube chassis. Then I pulled out the chop saw and trimmed it 1/2 inch short. I wanted to actually be exact, but I also am going to be capping this 2x4 with some 1/4 inch plate. After measuring out my caps, I used the bandsaw to cut them. Then welded the 2x4 shut. You saw me trim up my bulkhead. You saw me cut down a few things, including cutting down the 2x4 that's going to be the main structure. I went ahead and I capped each end, welded it all the way around. I'm going to take the flapper wheel and just kind of do the same thing I did with the chassis. I'm not looking to take the welds off. I'm just going to plate it straight so that I can get a straight edge on it, no problem. Yeah, so I went ahead and I just did both sides real fast. Anyway, after I hit it with the flapper wheel, I'm going to go ahead and then mock up the bulkhead on it and see how it looks. I'm hoping. All right, wish me luck. After a tiny bit of cleanup with the flapper wheel, I marked some lines that will help me ensure the suspension bulkhead is centered and square. Then I held it up. And after maneuvering it around a little bit, I tacked it. All right, guys, wanted to show you what I've been doing. Anyway, this is the way I got it set up. I just put 2 little itty bitty teeny tacks. Those are actually fairly strong tacks because it's holding this whole thing up. So anyway, I zeroed it on this. So this is exactly right down the middle of the thing. So foosh. And if you want to know what it is, so I zeroed it at, and I calibrated the angle finder on the thing, and then I put it up here, and I got 8.2, 8.3. So that's actually about a degree more than I wanted, but I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with that. I was going for 7. If you look at your, passenger cars are usually 4 to 5. And I always set up my Scouts at about 7. This is the same size tire, much lighter. Maybe it doesn't need, maybe it does. I think I'm okay with that. I'm willing to give that a shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to burn this in, and I mean, there's no time but the present. So yeah, let's get going on that. I will say that after I recorded that, I pulled it off and trimmed a little bit more, ending up with 8 degrees of caster on the spot. Happy with that, I fully welded the suspension bulkhead to the lower structure of the tube chassis. Now let's see how it turned out. All right, so nice all the way down, around the bottom, back up the other side. You say I had to stop there, but ooh, it's a little warm. But yeah, well, it's on there now. Only one way to get it off. It ain't coming off. All right, this is the main part of the suspension and main chassis. And I say it's the main chassis because this 2x4 quarter wall goes all the way from the front to the back. This whole structure right here is going to be just an appendage. You see it's already notched to go in it, and it'll be welded up on top. I am going to French this ridge right here into this piece here, so it'll be welded all the way around, all the way around, all the way underneath, and so forth. So that'll just be one big node. But anyway, yeah, so that should work pretty good. But yeah, I hope this works. We'll find out. We'll find out. Oh, I can show you something. Now, I told you about the shifter tube bar. So these bars are going to go from the front bumper all the way down. I'm going to continue them down and along this tube all the way to the back. So coming from this, you can see the whole chassis is going to be double tube, basically the box tube on the bottom, and then the round tube up top, just kind of singing down alongside it, parallel to it, and making its own tunnel again. And so that's going to be pretty nice. I think that's going to give me a nice strong structure, a nice backbone, and then the rest of the chassis there, that's just going to support the body, the cage, and so forth, all tie into this and then into that. And yeah, so it's going to be an interesting structure. I don't know how it's going to turn out yet. I have an idea, but we'll see once I get it all bolted in and with everything attached. And then I'll start drawing out all the little triangular gussets and the vertical supports and everything else. So stick with me as we keep on going. Now it's time to start planning to connect the lower section to the upper section. First things first, I cleaned off my workbench. Laid the upper structure on top and positioned the lower structure in place, but upside down. All right, check it out. All right, obviously, this is not the way this goes. This is the bulkhead, how it's going to be set. I put it on this upside down. So this is upside down. So this is the bottom, and this is obviously the top, right? So the thought is I'm going to be trimming this out, this bottom tube, this chassis tube. I'm going to trim it out so that I could sink when I flip it upside down. This rib will sink into this piece. That way, when I get the welds, I'm going to be able to weld all the way around. And on the other side, it's going to be up and around and down and so forth. And as for the back piece, you see how that kind of goes in? I'm going to fit it all up, get it square, get it, left and right. There's a little bit of room to move around, but not a whole lot. I just want to make sure everything is kosher and square. And then I'll basically just weld it all the way around, So it's going to just still going, but we're almost done with this. We are almost done. The bottom wasn't nearly as hard to fabricate as the top, unless you count the bulkhead, which I'm not. That was a whole different video series. So building the chassis, let's get that done. Oh, as far as the rear torsion bar, you kind of see how the front suspension is going to go. But as far as the back suspension, I'm going to cap these off with some quarter. I'm going to make another plate here to weld that all up, just kind of reinforce that, cap that as well. And then the torsion bar will probably be somewhere in this neighborhood. I'm talking to Nick over at Buggy Barn Fab. I'm going to get some of his box 5x5 micro stubs. And then I'm actually thinking about getting one of his torsion bars. I'm going to see if I could talk him into, instead of making 3/4 heims at the ends, I want to try to get 1.25 inch. I know that is way overboard, but I think it'd be fun. Anyway, we'll see if I can get him to do that. I don't know. We'll find out. You'll see. Yeah, so anyway, that's what she looks like so far. I just need to do my little trimming up here. Then I could flip it upside down and then weld everything up. Wow, we're already at 15 minutes. I think this is where I'm going to end this video. I was kind of hoping to finish off the whole tube chassis in this video all in one big swoop, but there's still a lot to do. So this is where I'm going to cut it off, but I promise next video it'll be complete, at least to where I need it to be to bolt it back underneath the bug and move on. And in the next video, we're going to marry the upper and the lower section together.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
Finish it all off and get it back underneath the bug. But until then, I'd like to really thank you guys for watching, joining me on this little trip of building this bug. But please like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm Damien, and this is the Binder Builder.